is draft day. It is finally here. We can put aside all the speculation, and we can start holding people accountable for some of these garbage betting lines that are out there. These over-unders, all that stuff. Now we're going to get the real answers coming up later on tonight. How fired up are you guys?
Nice. Exciting.
Good talk.
No, this is an awesome day. This is a life-changing day for so many guys out there who sacrificed a ton to get there. The parents, the caretakers, people who have poured into these young men, sacrificed so much for them to have a chance to get there, the coaches. And it's just an awesome moment. I mean, you think back to all the hard work, everything that goes into this stuff for these young men. And this is that moment where they get to see their dreams come true. So there's nothing like draft day. It's one of the most incredible events in your life, especially at this point. But more than anything else, it is the greatest reality TV of all time.
The best.
It's cool to be celebrated, stressful, all at the same time, just because of everything that surrounds it. But
the hell were you stressed?
To all the guys,
what were you stressed about? You were going one
there's
or two.
There's always something to stress out about.
Really?
Like in my case,
like having to wait 10 minutes to get drafted. Is that your story? Like what was?
Well, back then they negotiated before the draft. The first pick negotiated.
Back then was the same thing for me.
I was but the difference between you and me was I was negotiating the night before. Like I was negotiating, so I was on the phone. So I didn't feel myself getting the opportunity to really enjoy it because there were so many people talking to me. My agent was talking to me. Both franchises were talking to me, and so it was kind of like I didn't get an opportunity to really like take it all in because Washington was threatening me kind of sort of the entire time. Cleveland was like, listen, we want you, but it's got to be for the right price. And so it just kept kind of dragging out. So I'm just saying for me that it was fun and it was good, but it was a tad bit stressful when you had people sitting there telling you, well, we might not take you because we don't think you're signable, and that's like, I got to listen to it. And I'm like looking at my agent, like, I want to be signable. But my agent's saying to trust him, and I'm like, well, look, man, I want to be one. I wanted to go one.
Look, man,
look here, man, don't mess this up for me.
The Raiders sent like a construct of a deal to 4 guys in our draft year: Jamarcus, myself, Calvin Johnson, and then there's one other. I can't remember who it was. I don't know if it was Joe Thomas or someone else, but my agent, day before, was like, I don't even know what to make of this. Like, it was like a very rough draft, like percentages of things. He said, I'm not really going to entertain her to take it seriously. He goes, because it's not like a real offer. He goes, if this is what they're trying to like take it, sell everyone on. And if this is why they want to like take someone at 1 because they're going to take a lesser deal, he's like, it's not a good thing. So, ultimately, I don't know that anyone did anything with whatever they sent. But eventually, they end up taking Jamarcus 1, Calvin 1, 2, and et cetera, et cetera. But it was that slash, you're dealing with, at least in my case, all sorts of different information you're being passed along. I kind of knew, talking to the Cleveland Browns, that if both Joe Thomas and I were there at 3, that they were going to take Joe. They told me that. We talked about that. And then I'd thought, at least from what I've been told from the Miami Dolphins, that like I wasn't going to go past 9. Because of all the conversation we had. Terry Shea was the quarterback coach on Cam Cameron's staff. And that was who I worked with for a good portion of the preparation leading up to it. Had said some really good, workouts and time spent with Cam Cameron. Now, come to find out, there was a bit of a relationship. This is like, I don't know if I've ever told this part of the story. There was a bit of a relationship with Terry Robisky, whose son, Brian Robisky, played with Ted Ginn Jr. at Ohio State. Mm-hmm. And apparently, behind the scenes, he went all in to try to see if he could persuade them to draft Ted Ginn Jr. at 9 and explain he was a playmaker, his speed, his special teams, immediate impact, all that stuff. So that's a little more context to how it all kind of went down. But the reality is it works out how it's going to work out.
That didn't stress you out? That didn't stress you out going into it?
No, not going into it. like honestly, it was the first time that week because so for a lot of guys, when we went to New York, you get there on like Monday. So I had been like going to different charity events, going to different promotional events. I was getting up at 4:30 to work out at 5. I was doing. I had a guy who came out there I did some cross training with boxing. So we would go, we'd do some cardio, we'd hit some mitts. We'd then go, workouts to stay in shape, which I get some throws in their little indoor. And I was doing that every day at 5. We had to be on the bus by 7. So it was not, I was going to say like a long week or a grueling week, but I was there doing kind of my normal routine of what that would look like at that time. So it wasn't like, I got to like see everyone, my grandma, my family from Kentucky, like all these people came out, some of which had never been to New York. So I was just looking for an opportunity to see everyone. And that was really the final opportunity I got to see everyone. I think we went to some party. I remember like holding my grandma's hand as we're walking through this rap concert. I don't know if it was Fat Joe or who it was, but I just remember looking back up as I was like, Grandma, this ain't for us. And I think I saw Jamarcus Russell on stage like rapping with someone else.
No.
All right. Well, and so we literally walked to the front, took some pictures or whatever on the red carpet, and we walked right out the back door. And I was like, yep, we came, we saw, we went on, we moved on. And then we found like an Irish bar. We went and kind of basically closed down that night. So it was a celebration. It was a big moment for, I think, everyone who had supported me and who had been a part of the process the entire time.
I had a ton of people there, both sides. All my grandparents were still alive. My uncles, my aunts, cousins, I mean, coaches, teammates. Like, I had a ton of people there, but I couldn't focus in on really, really just being able to enjoy myself because I just didn't know. I didn't know I felt a little bit of stress just even seeing how many people were there, for me. And I just, I know you guys might think this sounds crazy, but I really don't like a lot of attention. Go ahead, laugh, do what y'all want to do, whatever you want to do with it. But I really don't like a ton of attention.
Why would I laugh?
And cause y'all like to like break on me and stuff like that.
You're king of mammals. Why would I laugh?
Yeah. Yeah, your logo picture is you riding a blue whale. Yeah.
I'm going to change it.
It's the largest creature.
I'm going to. So anyway, so Cleveland was trying to get the deal done, and if I'm being honest, I didn't want to play for Cleveland. I 100% wanted to go to Washington at 2.
I get that though. You grew up in Pittsburgh. Like you probably thought.
Well, I wanted to go to Pittsburgh. Well, I wanted to go to Pittsburgh.
But I'm just saying, like, if you grew up in Pittsburgh.
I don't like Cleveland. Right.
And you probably thought they were awful.
They weren't good. They were not. They definitely were not good. And
so what year was this?
2000.
So they just came back in 90. So they were an expansion team too. Like that's the other part of it is they wasn't
just
like
came back. Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Their first year back was 1999. So they're 1 year removed from the expansion draft.
Like I like Wally Rayner. Like there were a couple guys that I liked there, but I just didn't want to go there.
Steelers did you dirty. I'm looking at that draft class right now.
They're at 8. They were at 8.
Yeah, but Washington had the second and the third pick. Washington,
and third.
Yeah,
and they weren't giving them up. They knew exactly who they were going. Like 2020 hindsight, they knew exactly who they were taking. At that point, but they started negotiating with me. Like, well, because here's what's wild. Dan Snyder told me to pull my junk out. And in the center of the Cleveland Browns helmet logo, do my business on it, throw the deuces up, and tell them I don't even need to do this meeting. I'm going to Washington, right?
Wait, what?
That's what he told me in my. That's what he told me in my last meeting. Right? That should have been a red flag. It should have been a red flag.
But that also would pump you up, would it not? Like when little Dan said that to you,
then
you were
it
probably
pumped
like,
me up.
Hell yeah. You know?
I mean, then in the moment, I was like,
yeah, of course. That's what I'm saying.
Like, I don't want to, look, I'm being all literal to the dude. I was like, look, I don't want to get in trouble, and I don't want to get in between any of you guys' like your ownerships, like kind of like beefs or anything like that. I don't want to get arrested. But I mean, if you really want me to do it, you know, then we started laughing. But I can't. But
that was the first sign, by the way. That was the first indication.
That was first red flag. But and you don't know it. You don't realize, like, dang, this dude is crazy. In the moment, you're like, oh man, like this dude's like, he loves me, this, that, and the other. He thinks like this, that you're the most awesome person in the world, da da da, this, that, and the other. And I'm coming here, right? So I go back to Cleveland. I tell Cleveland, you got to pay me quarterback money. If you don't pay me somewhere around 14 guaranteed. Is that crazy? If you don't pay me something like 14 guaranteed, I can't do it. Like, we can't do it. And they were like, yeah, we're not going to give you that. And so I was like, well, I'm going to stay firm on 14. And they went and got Courtney. Courtney's agent was like, well, what is he asking for? I went to Courtney. I told Courtney, I said, don't negotiate with them. Just tell them your number. Because they've clearly established that they're talking to me and him, which is unique, you know, because me and him were going to be the first. My teammate went first overall in that draft. So that was pretty cool. So we were on the phone, and I'm telling him, like, I'm not going to negotiate with him no more. So push it up as high as you can, right? So then once they found out, Vinny Serrato was calling my agent and was like, look, man, Dan told me if he's not signable, we want him. We want to take him at 2, but we will take him at 3 if we have to, just to kind of knock it down just a little bit to make it more negotiable. So you got to be negotiable at 2. So they were negotiating against their 3rd pick as well in the scenario. So it was interesting. It was an interesting experience. But yeah, that was kind of how it went for me. And I had a baby on the way. Keno was in the oven, and he was cooking up.
What up, Keno? What
up? So I had a pregnant ass baby mama on my hands.
Damn.
At that time. Well, I loved her at the time. She was my fiance at the time, but different story now. But
was she ever a part of the koi fish?
I mean, she didn't make it. She didn't make it. So and them koi fish.
Storm too.
AQ. Them koi fish didn't deserve to go. She did.
Damn.
Anyway, I'm glad I got to throw that out there too, by the way.
Hell yeah.
And she didn't deserve to be there, but my son did, even though he wasn't here. So I don't know how that one works. But to that point, there were a lot of people that were supposed to be there, and we had a really, really good time, man. But they had more fun than I did. And I thought that was pretty cool. Like, my uncles are the reason why I played ball and played the way that I did. I patterned myself after Westinghouse, which was super city league school. My uncles played there. They were super, super fire dudes. And, they just never were, they couldn't make it to that level, didn't make it to that level, I should say. And so for them to have the opportunity to live it out, that was pretty cool.
So it's like a wedding. If it's your wedding, more people.
It's kind of like a wedding.
Yeah.
Or a funeral.
That's actually
whichever one you want to call it.
Well, I don't know about that. Jeez.
No, it was a funeral for me. I didn't know it was a funeral. They said when they called my name, they should have been like, dead man walking.
Hey, LaVar, your pallbearers all look the same.
Hey.
The reality is, and this is where I feel like a lot of young men, well, there's a couple of things. A lot of young men are more prepared for this now than ever because of the process. They've already been introduced to negotiations. They've already had some sort of professional formality to actually playing football in college. A lot of these guys have been getting paid. So it probably feels a bit different. I'm not saying that when you go D1 that it wasn't in a way a step or part of the dream coming true, but now you're getting paid on top of that too. In some cases, millions of dollars for some of these college kids. And I do wonder if that wears off the luster of it a bit, because, I remember the days of being in Zom Hall and scrounging together change to go get a piece of pizza in her basement so I could have dinner that night. Like, I remember some of the different struggles that you have as a college student when you work a job and you're trying to manage it and you're just trying to have enough cash or money because the dining hall is closed by the time I got done with practice and treatment, and then watching film and breaking stuff down, preparing for the next day, and then having to go to study hall. Like, there's no time. And so I remember all those things. I think back to just how much of a rejoice it was to be able to then be able to do it as a pro and not have some of the burdens that came along with that. I shouldn't say burdens, but responsibilities that came along with that. So in one way, like, I do wonder if draft day feels the same for these guys. When, I mean, think about Bryce Underwood, the kid in Michigan. He's just supposedly signed a deal of $12 million. Like, does it, I mean, it's more money. It feels great. It's again, another step, but you're making money now, like real money, as walking as a freshman. It's kind of crazy. And one of the things that I wanted to bring up that I was reading about the draft and some of the things, and I don't know if this might have been Jay Glazer who put this out there, who, LaVar, you'll be working with tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern time, NFL draft coverage. Don't look anywhere else between Fox Sports
Don't look
Radio,
anywhere else.
LaVar, Joe Douglas, Jay Glazer, Jenny Taft, they got you covered.
Hell yeah.
Damn.
But I wanted to point out that medical we've always known. There's some teams that just take a guy off their board because they don't feel like he'll be able to do it. There's character, which is another thing, right? Off the field issues. They just feel like he's a dirtbag. And then there's a third thing they've brought up, that they don't love football. And he said there's a number of players now that they don't know what exactly to attribute it to, but they do feel like this NIL era of college football player has led now to this point of, are they doing it for the money or football? And if they really don't love football, we're not sure we want to draft them. They're not on our board because we feel this guy is not really about what this game takes, what it's about.
It's pretty interesting.
I mean, I do wonder how many players now their goal is to go to the NFL, or their goal is, man, if I can get to college and it's a good spot and I can make a little bit of money, maybe I can look elsewhere. It's not the end all be all like it used to be.
But it's still, I mean, more often than not, it's still about trying to get to the money. The money represents a landing place, a destination for, you know, most guys who didn't grow up with money or grew up even with the structure and conversations that help you understand what having a job or, you know, what that looked like, you know, being in the real world, didn't have all of that guidance. I mean, that was it. So, you know, guys can say, well, I love the game. But if you were to say, well, what's the motivation? They'll say, oh, to take care of my mother or to take care of, you know, my baby sister or whatever. Everybody has their, you know, the chickens. Yeah, everybody will come up with, you know, what has driven them and what has taken them to, you know, that point. So, I mean, you're going to find out if they love the game once you start paying them. So I guess it'd be good to figure it out. I guess, all right, well, do you love the game because you're making money in college? I mean, that's an interesting, you know, that's an interesting category to start judging players off of, because I think people would be lying if they said that to have the idea of making having a 7-figure job or even a high 6-figure job coming out of college and you were able to earn it and play for it, doing it on the field. I mean, I think people would be lying. Not too many people would say, I don't do it for the money. I don't do it for just the pure love of the game. I mean, some of that motivation as to why people play the way they play is to get to the money. So, I mean, Jerry Maguire said it best. You know, Tom Cruise said it best, like, show me the money. And that was based off of he got a new deal. That wasn't a draft. Show me the money!
I mean,
well, there you go.
It was Cuba Gooding Jr. who was wanting to see the money. Yeah, the Quan.
It was Cuba.
The Quan.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know, though. But
so hold on. How much were you offered, you said? You were offered 13 or 14?
I told him I wanted 14. I ended up with 10. I ended up at 10.
So think about that. Bryce Underwood, the freshman quarterback at Michigan, is getting 12 or more, supposedly, on his way in college.
Yeah. There you go. That'll take away some of the edge. Yes, 100%. That'll take away some of the edge.
And I do wonder, like, at what point will it stop? Because college football is an expanding sport and landscape. The ratings have continually gone up, and the media rights have continually gone up. Like, this thing's only going to go up for the foreseeable future. And it's crazy to think what these guys are going to cost, or what they'll be making, I guess is the other way of putting it. And that doesn't even include like what other marketing gets involved. I mean, it's going to be wild. And the whole eligibility with the settlement, as far as, you know, what the requirement's going to be, is going to be you have to play 5 years to play 4. Or are they going to get rid of the eligibility rules altogether, where guys can play for 5-6 years? I mean, think about that.
Brock Purdy.
There's a realistic scenario where the eligibility rules are going to be challenged, and this will almost feel like a minor league to the NFL, and it might feel like more comparable at some schools like Texas, Ohio State, maybe Michigan, teams with deep pockets. Penn State, I don't know how deep the pockets are, maybe Penn State, Georgia, Alabama. These schools, they might be able to, they're not going to have a salary cap of, you know, $200 million, at least not now. But if we're being real, Ohio State's is over 20 last year, and it's only going to build from there. Now we've got Kurt Signetti saying some teams are paying 40. They've got a roster of 40 million. Some are closer to, you know, past that. So it's doubled in 1 year's time. Like, that means it's going to get there by 2030 if it keeps growing at the rate it's growing.
12 million, and 12 million. Is that the most that a quarterback is getting, or has
on his way in? But right now, I mean, you would presumably say 16 would be the most over 4 years, because I believe Beck's getting 4 and Nico wanted 4, and the average supposedly based on the data and open indoors is over 3. So do the math on that, man. Like, more guys are getting that too. That's a freshman who's never played before.
Brock Purdy's made 2.8 in his career. He went to a Super Bowl.
That's it?
Yeah.
Dang.
Nico Iamaleava has made more during his time at Tennessee than Brock Purdy has so far in his NFL career.